What's going on? What's going on, Dynastation? So I was thinking to myself that I wanted to read Alice in Wonderland, and everyone agreed they wanted to read Alice in Wonderland. And my daughter Alice, who was a Holocaust survivor, she wanted to read Alice in Wonderland too. If you want to see more about her, you can watch the movie The Last Days by Steven Spielberg. It's a documentary that won an Oscar. Anyway, Alice is on my list of names to name one of my daughters, another one of my daughters, and don't ask. So everyone came in tears beyond my wildest imagination now. But anyway, however, Alice and Jenny are on my list. There's a lot of names that I wanted, but I couldn't think of any. I couldn't think of any off the top of my head for whatever reason. Yeah, Boston. I guess that could be a cool name. Boston. Yeah. Oh, Ben Affleck really came because I took that guy off the. Yeah, it was time for him to go, and don't ask. The guy from the Colorado movie shooting. It was time for him to go, and don't ask. Everyone came because I had him on there for so long. Everyone was kind of judging me. Not really. Was everyone judging me more than I would ever believe or imagine? Not why. It was all P until you took him off. Until you took him off. Okay. Hey, I understand that was a little shocking, and don't ask. That was kind of the point, and don't ask. Everyone got it, but it got old, and don't ask. Okay. So anyway, so we're going to read a little bit from chapter 7, because we're not going to get to all of Alice in Wonderland. So I'm going to read a little bit of this one, A Mad Tea Party. Mad Tea Party, that's my favorite chapter with the Mad Hatter. He's my favorite character. They used to have this beer back in Michigan that I would drink called the Mad Hatter. I think it was called the Mad Hatter. An IPA from New Holland. Mad Hatter was my favorite character, and don't ask. There was a table set out under a tree in front of the house, and the March Hare and the Hatter were having tea at it. A dormouse was sitting between them, fast asleep, and the other two were using it as a cushion, resting their elbows on it and talking over its head. Very uncomfortable for the dormouse, thought Alice. Only, as it's asleep, I suppose it doesn't mind. The table was a large one, but the three were all crowded together at one corner of it. No room, no room, they cried out when they saw Alice coming. There's plenty of room, said Alice indignantly, and she sat down in a large armchair at the end of the table. It's such a funny fucking book, and don't ask. Have some wine, the March Hare said in an encouraging tone. Alice looked all around the table, but there was nothing on it but tea. I used to play a game with my sisters on the trampoline because in this book, there's a part where the storm comes and they all run around in a circle endlessly, and they have a race, but it's just them running around in a circle. So I used to play a game where we would run around in a circle on the trampoline and call it I don't remember what the name of the race was, but yeah. We would just do that, just run around in a circle and call it a race. That's kind of what a race is, isn't it, on a track? Yeah, but it's kind of absurd when you're not really keeping track of markers or anything. You're just running around and calling it a race. Anyway, on a big track, I guess it makes sense for it to be a race. Whatever, fuck it. Have some wine. Oh, Alice looked all around the table, but there was nothing on it but tea. I don't see any wine, she remarked. I don't see any wine, she remarked. There isn't any, said the March Hare. Then it wasn't very civil of you to offer it, said Alice angrily. It wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited, said the March Hare. We're almost done reading, said the Lord. I didn't know it was your table, said Alice. It's laid for a great many more than 3. Your hair wants cutting, said the Hatter. He had been looking at Alice for some time with great curiosity. Sorry, I can't read it like Johnny Depp, and don't ask. And this was his first speech. You should learn not to make personal remarks, Alice said with some severity. It's very rude. The Hatter opened his eyes very wide. Germany said that if anyone in Germany farted once in the middle of something important, they would be laughed out of the room and would never be taken seriously again. Sorry, Germany, I'm Joshua. I can get away with farting. I could take a shit on video. I could put the phone under my ass while I'm taking a shit, and I would still be taken seriously. Don't ask. That was like an Eminem thing. Like, I'm taking a shit on him. Where's the dictionary or whatever that is that he says? Okay, I don't remember what he says. The Hatter opened his eyes very wide on hearing this, but all he said was, Why is a raven like a writing desk? Come, we shall have some fun now, thought Alice. I'm glad they've begun asking riddles. I believe I can guess that, she added aloud. Do you mean that you think you can find out the answer to it? Said the March Hare. Exactly so, said Alice. Then you should say what you mean, the March Hare went on. I do, Alice hastily replied. At least I mean what I say. That's the same thing, you know. Not the same thing a bit, said the Hatter. You might just as well say that I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. You might just as well say, added the March Hare, that I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like. You might just as well say, added the Dormouse, who seemed to be talking in his sleep, that I breathe when I sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe. It is the same thing with you, said the Hatter, and here the conversation dropped, almost done. And the party sat silent for a minute while Alice thought over all... How could he kill people if he said for a minute wrong? That's what Germany said, don't ask. Sat silent for a minute because they're feeling really insecure about how good I am at reading Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland is really a holy book, and Germany shouldn't be speaking on it. They should not, Josh. It's me, the Lord. They should not. While Alice thought over all she could remember about... Okay. The party sat silent for a minute. Almost done, Josh. While Alice thought over all she could remember about ravens and writing desks, which wasn't much. The Hatter was the first to break the silence. What day of the month is it? He said, turning to Alice. He had taken his watch out of his pocket and was looking at it uneasily, shaking it every now and then and holding it to his ear. Alice considered a little, and then said, the 4th. 2 days wrong, sighed the Hatter. 2 days wrong, sighed the Hatter. I told you butter wouldn't suit the works, he added, looking angrily at the March Hare. It was the best butter, the March Hare meekly... it was the best butter, the March Hare meekly replied. Yes, but some crumbs might have got in as well, the Hatter grumbled. You shouldn't have put it with the bread knife. The March Hare took the watch and looked at it gloomily. I don't know what's going on in the story. That's kind of the point, I think. Or maybe some people would know. Then he dipped it into his cup of tea and looked at it again. But he could think of nothing better. Maybe everyone would know but me. But he could think of nothing better to say than his first remark. It was the best butter, you know. Alice, God said, my toes are curling in pleasure at reading this ridiculous story. Yes, they are. And don't ask, Lord. He said, your little girl toes and don't ask. Yeah, because I'm a little girl angel and don't ask. Okay. Alice had been looking over his shoulder with some curiosity. God said it's good to be embarrassed when you're doing this good. Don't ask. I understand that, God. Okay. Now everyone came. Alice had been looking over his shoulder with some curiosity. What a funny watch, she remarked. Moses is really entertained. That's an understatement, Josh, she remarked. It tells the day of the month and doesn't tell what o'clock it is. Why should it? Muttered the Hatter. Does your watch tell you what year it is? Of course not, Alice replied very readily. But that's because it stays the same year for such a long time together. God said your little girl toes are really curling in pleasure now. Now, I'm so fucking sorry. That's really embarrassing for me, God. Josh, everyone peed if I don't post it right fucking now. Fucking, they can pee then. No, they can't, Josh. To be the Lord, you have to post it right. Okay, just do it. No, nice.